Human ambassadors' pheromones drive royal alien guards into frenzy, except the commander who wants him for herself. The royal reception hall of Mia Prime glittered with crystalline chandeliers that refracted the twin suns' light into rainbows across the polished obsidian floor. Oliver Reeves adjusted his formal, diplomatic uniform, the weight of Earth's future heavy on his shoulders. Humanity had spent generations recovering from their planetary conflicts, developing in isolation while the rest of the galaxy formed alliances and treaties without them. Now, as Earth's first ambassador to the Galactic Council, he needed to make a strong impression. Ambassador Reeves, the Queen will receive you momentarily, announced a sleek protocol droid, its metallic voice echoing through the vast hall. Oliver nodded, squaring his shoulders and reviewing his carefully prepared greeting in his mind. The massive platinum doors at the far end swung open, revealing 2 rows of white-haired guards in gleaming ceremonial armor. At their center stood a figure that immediately drew his gaze, a woman with electric blue hair cascading down her shoulders, her posture radiating authority, unlike her subordinates who wore silver chest plates. Her armor featured gold inlays that caught the light with every breath. As Oliver approached, an odd ripple passed through the assembled guards. The nearest one, her name badge, identified her as Lieutenant Alicia, flared her nostrils, her pupils visibly dilating. The twin guards behind her tail eyes and Farah exchanged glances, their grip on their ceremonial spears tightening. Ambassador Reeves of Earth, the blue-haired commander announced, her voice crisp and controlled. I am Commander Seleth, head of the Royal Murren Guard. Welcome to our home world. Her eyes, bright green with vertical pupils, assessed him coolly, though he noticed a slight tension in her jaw. Commander Sith, I'm honored to be received by the Mirren court, Oliver replied with a diplomatic bow as he straightened. Lieutenant Alicia stepped forward, her movement oddly fluid. Commander, perhaps I should escort the ambassador to the throne room. Her voice carried a purr that seemed out of place in the formal setting. That won't be necessary. Lieutenant Seleth replied, a sharp edge to her words. I will personally escort Ambassador Reeves. Alicia's ears, pointed and covered with fine white fur, twitched backward in what Oliver recognized as disappointment. The reaction struck him as unusual for what should be a routine diplomatic reception. This way, Ambassador Seleth gestured toward the inner chamber, maintaining a precise distance between them. As they walked, Oliver noticed the guards tracking his movement with unusual intensity. Your guards are remarkably attentive, he observed. The Royal Guard is trained to be vigilant, Seleth responded tersely. Particularly with new diplomatic species. They passed through a corridor lined with historical tapestries depicting what appeared to be ancient mean battle scenes. Oliver caught Seleth casting sidelong glances at him when she thought he wasn't looking. Is something wrong, Commander? He asked. Kath's steps faltered momentarily. No, however, there is something unexpected about your presence. Before Oliver could inquire further, they entered the throne room where Queen Zarana Famir sat upon an elevated platform. The Queen's regal features mirrored the feline aspects of her guards, though her fur held golden undertones that marked her royal lineage. Your Majesty, Seal announced, bowing deeply. Ambassador Oliver Reeves of Earth. Oliver approached and performed the ceremonial greeting he'd been taught, pressing his right fist to his heart and extending his left palm upward, a gesture signifying honest intentions. Ambassador Reeves' Queen's Arena's voice carried the musical lilt characteristic of the mean language. Earth has remained isolated for generations. We are curious about what brings your species to seek membership in the Galactic Council. Now, as Oliver began his prepared response, he became aware of the royal guards stationed around the throne room, shifting uneasily. One guard near the Queen abruptly excused herself, nearly stumbling as she retreated from the chamber. And so we believe that humanity has much to offer the galactic community. Oliver continued, trying to maintain focus despite the strange undercurrent in the room. Our adaptability and innovative approaches to problem solving. Indeed, interrupted a gravely voice from the side chamber, a tall, gray-skinned figure with bony ridges along his skull stepped forward. Humans are known for their disruptive qualities. Ambassador Dravkor. Queen Zarana acknowledged with a slight nod. The sentient dominion's concerns have been noted, but this is Earth's formal introduction to the court. Dravker's four nostrils flared in what Oliver interpreted as disdain of course, your Majesty. I merely observe that introducing new species often unsettles established. Order Commander Selith stepped forward, positioning herself subtly between Oliver and the sentient ambassador. The established order adapts Ambassador Dravkor, as it has for millennia. Oliver noticed Selith's hand resting on her ceremonial blade, her knuckles whitening slightly. The tension in the room was palpable, and he couldn't shake the feeling that he was missing crucial context. Queen Zarina raised a delicate hand, immediately commanding silence. Ambassador Reeves, you will attend tonight's reception, where we can discuss Earth's petition more thoroughly. Commander Selith will ensure your needs are met during your stay. That's really not necessary, Oliver began, concerned about imposing on the guard commander. It is necessary, Selith cut in her tone, brooking no argument. There are protocols regarding new species that must be observed. As they exited the throne room, Oliver caught Lieutenant Alijah watching him with an intensity that went beyond professional interest. When their eyes met, she didn't look away, but instead ran her tongue over her upper lip in a gesture that seemed instinctively predatory. Commander, Oliver said quietly as they moved down the corridor, I can't help feeling something unusual is happening. If I've committed some cultural offense. Oh, Selith replied, maintaining her rigid posture, at least not intentionally. She paused, seeming to debate whether to continue. Ambassador, are you wearing some form of scent or cologne? No, Oliver frowned. Earth diplomatic protocol specifically prohibits artificial scents when meeting new species due to potential allergic reactions. Selith's ears twitched forward. A gesture he was beginning to recognize indicated intense interest. Then, it is, as I suspected, your natural human scent appears to have an unanticipated effect on mess. Effect? Oliver asked suddenly, recalling the strange behavior of the guards. Yes, Selith confirmed her professional demeanor slipping just enough to reveal discomfort. That's why I've assigned myself as your escort. I seem to have a higher tolerance than my subordinates. Oliver processed this information with growing concern. His first diplomatic mission, and his mere presence was already causing complications. Is this going to be a problem for the negotiations? He asked directly. Selith's gaze met his, her green eyes narrowing slightly. That remains to be seen, Ambassador, but I suggest you prepare yourself. Tonight's reception will be challenging. The diplomatic quarters assigned to Oliver were opulent by any standard, walls embedded with luminescent minerals that adjusted their glow to his circadian rhythm, furniture that conformed to his body's pressure points, and a view of Mir Prime's capital city that stretched to the violet mountains beyond. Yet despite these comforts, anxiety gnawed at him as he prepared for the evening reception. A soft chime announced a visitor. Oliver straightened his formal attire, embroidered with Earth's new galactic insignia, and pressed the door. Release. Commander Selith stood in the corridor, her ceremonial armor replaced by a fitted deep blue uniform that accentuated her athletic frame. The dragon-like tattoo on her shoulder was partially visible beneath the sleeve, its intricate design shifting slightly with each movement. As if a live ambassador, she greeted him with a formal nod. I've come to escort you to the reception, Commander, Oliver replied, nodding. How she maintained a precise distance from him. I appreciate your guidance, but I've been thinking about what you said earlier. If my presence is disruptive, perhaps it would be better if you what return to Earth allow one biological quirk to derail humanity's first diplomatic engagement. Kath's ears flattened momentarily before she regained her composure. That would be a disproportionate response to the situation. Oliver stepped into the corridor, the door sliding shut behind him. Then tell me exactly what's happening so I can navigate this properly. Selith hesitated, her tail normally held in rigid discipline, swishing once in what he interpreted as discomfort. Your pheromone signature, it resonates with me physiology in a way that triggers our most primal responses, particularly among females. You mean yes? She cut him off sharply. It signals compatibility. Desirability, her gaze fixed on a point beyond his shoulder. For most of my guards, it's overwhelming because they've never encountered it before. They're experiencing a biochemical attraction that clouds judgment. Oliver processed this information, understanding dawning, but not you something flashed in Selith's eyes, a momentary crack in her professional resistance and more at stake. Should I lose control, they walked in silence through the palace's sweeping corridors. As they approached the grand reception hall, the sound of music and conversation grew louder. Ambassador Dravkor Oliver said, recalling the tension from earlier. He seemed particularly unhappy about Earth. Joining the council, Selith's posture stiffened further. The sentients were among the founding members of the Galactic Council. They prefer the status quo and view newcomers with suspicion, especially species with unpredictable qualities. The reception hall doors slid open, revealing a vast chamber filled with representatives from dozens of species, crystalline structures floating near the ceiling emitted soft light that complemented the bioluminescent flora decorating the walls. Stay close, Kath murmured. I've instructed my guards to maintain distance, but in this setting, Oliver nodded, straightening his shoulders. As they entered, conversations faltered, and heads turned. The reaction was subtle but unmistakable, particularly among the mean attendees whose ears swiveled in his direction, while their nostrils flared. Queen Zarina acknowledged their arrival with a slight inclination of her head from across the chamber, where she conversed with a delegation of insectoid diplomats. Ambassador Reeves purred a familiar voice. Lieutenant Alicia approached, her formal guard uniform exchanged for an iridescent gown that caught the light with each step. How fortunate to see you again so soon, Lieutenant, Selith interjected, her tone carrying a warning. I believe your duty station is by the eastern entrance this evening. Alicia's smile revealed slightly pointed canines. Commander, surely protocol allows for diplomatic engagement during formal functions. Her gaze never left Oliver's face. I'm merely extending hospitality to our honored guest. Before Selith could respond, Alicia stepped closer to Oliver, inhaling deeply. Has anyone given you a proper tour of our gardens, Ambassador? The night-blooming lumina are particularly breathtaking under our moons. The ambassador's schedule is fully accounted for, Selith stated flatly. Oliver observed the silent power struggle between the two women with growing concern. Perhaps another time, Lieutenant. I should greet the other delegates first. Alicia's expression cooled slightly. Of course, until later. Then she retreated with a fluid grace that somehow managed to convey both compliance and defiance. This is going to be a long evening, Selith muttered under her breath as they navigated through the crowded reception. Oliver noticed the twin guards Talais and Farah tracking his movements from their posts. Other Mir and females found reasons to cross his path, their interest poorly disguised. Ambassador Reeves, a growly voice, interrupted his observations. Ambassador Dravkor loomed over him, gray skin gleaming dully under the lights. I see you're causing quite a stir among our feline allies. Kath stepped forward, her posture subtly shifting to one of readiness. Ambassador Dravkor, how unexpected to see you taking such interest in Earth's represent. Merely scientific curiosity, Dravkor replied, his four-nostril breathing apparatus contracting. Humans have been isolated for so long, yet now they emerge seeking alliances. One wonders what prompted this sudden change. Perhaps we simply recognized it was time to join the galactic community. Oliver offered diplomatically. Dravkor's head tilted at an angle that suggested skepticism. Or perhaps Earth has encountered difficulties that make isolation no longer tenable. Oliver maintained his diplomatic smile. Earth is thriving, Ambassador. We come seeking mutual benefit, not necessity. How fascinating, Dravkor responded, his tone suggesting he believed otherwise. I look forward to the council sessions exploring humanity's contributions. With a stiff nod, he moved away. He's going to be trouble, Oliver observed quietly. Selith's gaze followed the sentient ambassador. Yes, the sentients value predictability above all else. Your species, and particularly your effect on mine, represents chaos to them. As the evening progressed, Oliver engaged with various diplomatic representatives, carefully navigating the complex web of galactic politics throughout it all. Selith remained at his side, a vigilant presence that both protected him and kept the increasingly bold advances of other Muran females at bay. When the twin moons of Mir Prime reached their zenith visible through the reception hall's transparent ceiling, Queen's arena approached them. Position Ambassador Reeves. She greeted him her royal bearing, commanding immediate respect. I trust you are. Finding your introduction to galactic society illuminating. Extremely, Your Majesty. Oliver replied with the appropriate bow, though I admit there have been unexpected elements. The Queen's whiskers twitched in what might have been amusement. Indeed, Commander Seleth, I believe it would be beneficial for you to show Ambassador Reeves the temple gardens. The night air might provide clarity for both of you. Ciceres perked forward in surprise. Your Majesty, that is an instruction. Commander, Queen Zarina stated smoothly before gliding away to address other guests. Kath's tail swished once in apparent frustration before she regained control. This way, Ambassador, she said stiffly. As they left the reception hall, Oliver couldn't help but feel they were being maneuvered by forces beyond his understanding, and that the night's revelations were far from over. The temple gardens whispered with nocturnal life as Oliver and Seleth walked the luminescent path. Bioluminescent flora cast a blue glow across the carefully manicured grounds, creating pools of light that danced with their shadows. Your queen seems to have a specific agenda sending us here, Oliver observed, breaking the tense silence. Sith's ears twitched. Queen Zarina is perceptive. She likely seeks to minimize disruption while allowing us to address the situation privately. They reached a secluded alcove where crystal formations created natural seating. The twin moons of Mir Prime bathed everything in silver light, accentuating Seleth's striking features. Tell me truthfully, Oliver said, how severe is this situation for your people? Seleth's composed facade faltered. Unprecedented human biochemistry, evolved separately from galactic standard. Your pheromones trigger responses in our species that haven't been activated for generations, yet you resist, Oliver noted. With difficulty, she admitted her normally stern expression, softening. Your scent calls to something primal in us in me, but my rank demands self-control. A rustling in the nearby foliage interrupted them. Lieutenant Alicia emerged from the shadows, her eyes gleaming in the moonlight. Commander Alicia purred. I thought I might find you here. Her gaze fixed hungrily on Oliver. The Queen requested your presence. Inside, I offered to watch over the Ambassador. Seleth rose, her posture rigid. Return to your post, Lieutenant. Now something dangerous flashed in Alicia's eyes. The human doesn't belong to you. Commander, he doesn't belong to anyone. Settled her hand, moving to her sidearm. He is Earth's ambassador, and under my protection. The standoff crackled with tension until Alicia finally backed away, disappearing into the garden. This is escalating quickly, Oliver said quietly. Seleth turned to him, moonlight illuminating her troubled expression. Human adaptability may be your greatest strength, Ambassador. You'll need it in the days ahead. The council chambers hummed with anticipation as delegates from 27 species gathered for Earth's formal petition. Oliver stood at the center of the chamber, acutely aware of the Me and Guard contingents stationed along the perimeter, and of Commander Slith's vigilant presence behind him. Representatives of the Galactic Council. Oliver began, his voice steady. Despite his nerves, humanity comes before you not as supplicants, but as potential partners. As he outlined Earth's achievements and potential contributions, he noticed Ambassador Dravkor leaning toward an aide, mandibles clicking in what appeared to be agitation. While humans may be newcomers to this council, Oliver continued, our isolation has fostered unique evolutionary paths and innovative solutions such as biochemical manipulation. Dravkor interrupted, rising from his seat. The sentient Dominion wishes to formally note concerns about the human biochemical influence on council proceedings. Murmurs rippled through. Commanded, is it not evident? Dravkor gestured toward the mean guards who indeed seemed unnaturally fixated on Oliver. The human emits compounds that alter me and behavior. How can we trust negotiations conducted under such influence? Oliver felt. Seleth stepped forward. The Royal Guard is fully capable of maintaining professionalism regardless of biological factors. Are they? Dravkor challenged. Lieutenant Alicia was relieved of duty this morning after attempting to access the ambassador's quarters. Unauthorized, the revelation sent shock waves through the chamber. Oliver turned to Seleth, whose expression confirmed the claim. This is why humans remained isolated. Dravkor pressed. They are evolutionary Disruptors Queen Zarina raised her hand for silence. We will adjourn briefly to consider this matter. Commander Celeb, Reeves to the reflection. Chamber once alone Seleth finally spoke. There's something I haven't told you, Oliver, the effect of your pheromones. It's not random attraction. What do you mean human biochemistry? Evolved to form deep social bonds, something rare in the galaxy. Your pheromones don't just attract, they create potential for connection that most species lost millennia ago. Her eyes met his vulnerability showing through her warrior facade, and I'm not immune. I've been fighting it since you arrived. The revelation hung between them, a turning point neither had anticipated. How long have you known? Oliver asked, processing Seleth's revelation. Our scientists confirmed it last night. Human pheromones don't just trigger attraction, they signal genetic compatibility across species. Barriers, it's an evolutionary advantage no other species possesses. Outside the reflection chamber, the council debated humanity's fate, while inside personal and political boundaries blurred. Ambassador Dravkor fears this ability. Seleth continued sentience, value rigid hierarchy and predictability. Your species represents chaos to them. Oliver approached her, closing the careful distance she'd maintained for days. And what do I represent to you? Commander Seal's composure wavered, her breath catching as he drew nearer. Temptation, complication, possibility. A chime signaled the council's readiness to reconvene before they could return. Seleth grasped his arm. They may reject Earth's petition because they fear what you represent, she warned. Be prepared. Re-entering the chamber, Oliver noticed the atmosphere had shifted. Ambassador Dravkor stood at the center, his posture radiating confidence. The council has reached a preliminary decision. Queen Zarina announced Earth's petition requires further evaluation. Meanwhile, Ambassador Reeves will be relocated to the diplomatic compound away from the palace guards. Oliver recognized the diplomatic setback for what it was: isolation under the guise of prudence. And Commander Seleth, the Queen continued, will remain as liaison as she has demonstrated sufficient resistance to the human biochemical influence from the shadows of the chamber. Ambassador Dravkor's eyes narrowed at this unexpected development in his otherwise successful maneuver. The diplomatic compound sat isolated on the outskirts of the capital, its architecture beautiful, but its purpose now clear. Containment. Oliver paced the expansive, sweet feeling like a specimen under observation rather than an ambassador. When the door chimed, he was surprised to find Seleth alone without her usual guard complement. The Queen has assigned me as your exclusive security detail, she explained, entering cautiously to minimize exposure to other guards. Clever of Her Majesty, Oliver replied, though I suspect Ambassador Dravkor isn't pleased. He's pushing for your petition to be rejected entirely. Seleth's tail swished in agitation. Claims humans present an uncalculated variable in galactic politics. He's not wrong, Oliver admitted, but innovation requires variables. Stagnation is the real threat. Something in his words resonated with Seleth. She moved closer, her professional distance faltering. Our scientists have continued analyzing human biochemistry, she said softly. Your species evolved to form deep emotional bonds. Your pheromones don't just attract, they create the foundation for connection across tremendous differences. Is that why you've been fighting? Your response to me, Oliver asked. Seleth's ears flattened momentarily. I am the commander of the Royal Guard. I cannot be compromised. Is understanding another species truly compromise? Oliver moved closer, testing boundaries, both diplomatic and personal. Their eyes locked, the tension between them shifting from restraint to possibility. There's a delegation arriving tomorrow, Seleth said finally. Representatives who will evaluate Earth's petition. Ambassador Dravkor has been unusually interested in their itinerary. You suspect something? I know a predator planning an ambush. When I see one, her hand brushed his. The first voluntary contact she had initiated. We should prepare. The dual meaning hung between them, a bridge neither had yet dared to cross. The ceremonial arrival platform buzzed with activity as delegates from 7 council worlds disembarked. Oliver stood beside Queen's arena with Seleth vigilantly positioned behind them. The diplomatic cornerstone of Earth's petition had arrived. If these representatives voted favorably, humanity would gain a foothold in galactic Politics Ambassador Reeves Queen Zarana murmured as the delegation approached these next. Moments are crucial first impressions. The explosion ripped through the arrival platform, sending debris, and bodies flying. Oliver reacted instinctively, tackling the Queen to safety, as Seleth shielded them. Both smoke billowed across the platform as screams and weapons fire erupted. Simultaneously, through the chaos, Oliver glimpsed masked figures moving with lethal precision toward the visiting delegates. Assassins, Seleth shouted, drawing her weapon, protect the Queen, and delegates. The remaining guards rallied, but the attackers had the advantage of surprise. Oliver spotted an injured delegate crawling toward, covered directly in an attacker's path, without hesitation. He sprinted across the exposed platform, dodging weapons fire with reflexes honed. Through years of competitive athletics, he reached the delegate seconds before the assassin tackling the masked figure. With a ferocity that startled even Seleth, the human and assassin tumbled to the ground, grappling for control. Oliver's combat training, mandatory for all Earth diplomats since the Mars colony incident, gave him an edge the attacker hadn't anticipated. Pinning his opponent, Oliver ripped off the mask to reveal gray skin and 4 nostrils. A sentient operative. The sentient staged this. He shouted to Seleth, who was engaged with another attacker nearby. She dispatched her opponent with efficient grace, then spun to assess the situation. They're targeting the delegates who supported Earth's petition. Working in sudden synchrony, Oliver and Seleth moved through the chaos, their instincts aligning with uncanny precision as they protected the injured and subdued attackers. When security reinforcements finally arrived, the platform resembled a battlefield, but thanks to human reflexes and mere fighting prowess, not a single delegate had been lost. Ambassador Queen Zarana approached, her regal composure remarkably intact. Despite the violence, it appears we owe you a debt. Oliver helped Sith bind an unconscious attacker. I suspect Ambassador Dracker owes us some explanations. Seleth's eyes met his anew, respect evident in her gaze. Perhaps humans bring more to the galaxy than just unusual pheromones. The aftermath of the assassination attempt transformed the political landscape overnight. Oliver's quarters in the diplomatic compound had been upgraded from isolation to protection, with Kath personally overseeing security. Reports confirm all captured assassins were sentient operatives, she informed him, entering his suite. After directing the guard rotation, Ambassador Dravkor has mysteriously departed, mere prime running from his failed plot. Oliver concluded, the council is in emergency session. Your actions saved 3 delegate lives. Kath's professional demeanor slipped as she moved closer. You fought well for a diplomat. Earth learned the hard way that words sometimes need physical backup. The tension between them, simmering for days, intensified in the privacy of his quarters. The careful distance Kath had maintained dissolved with each step she took toward him. I've been ordered to protect you at all costs, she said, her voice dropping to a register that sent electricity down his spine. The council now sees your value. And what do you see, Commander? Oliver asked, closing the remaining distance between them. Her response came not in words, but action. The kiss began cautiously, a testing of boundaries before deepening into something primal and urgent. The biochemical attraction they'd fought against transformed into a connection neither had anticipated. I've fought this since you arrived, Kath admitted breathlessly, tried to deny what I felt. Oliver traced the dragon tattoo on her shoulder, watching it seem to move beneath his touch. Some battles aren't meant to be won. That species a bridge across galactic differences that politics could never have engineered. In the aftermath, as they lay tangled together, Seleth's communicator chimed with urgent priority. The council vote has been moved forward. She read, her expression darkening. Tomorrow morning, Ambassador Dravkor has returned with reinforcements. Oliver pulled her close. Then we have work to do before dawn. The council chamber pulsed with tension as species representatives filled the tiered seating. Oliver stood at the petitioner's position. Seleth, officially at attention nearby, though her posture betrayed a new protectiveness. Ambassador Dravkor entered with a contingent of sentient officials, his demeanor betraying no hint of connection to the previous days. Violence. This emergency session will address 2 matters. Queen Zarana announced from the high chair the assassination attempt and Earth's petition for council membership Dravkor. Immediately rose the sentient dominion, categorically denies involvement in yesterday's regrettable incident. These accusations are clearly attempts to manipulate council sympathy toward the human petition. Murmurs rippled through the gathering until Oliver stepped forward. With respect to the council, I submit evidence recovered from the attackers. He activated a holographic display showing sentient communication codes. These transmission records link directly to Ambassador Dravker's diplomatic vessel. The chamber erupted in shocked exclamations. Furthermore, Oliver continued. Commander Sith's investigation revealed that the sentients fear human evolutionary advantages disrupting their carefully constructed power hierarchy. Their internal communications describe humans as evolutionary disruptors to be eliminated before integration. Dravkor lunged to his feet. These are fabrications. The human's pheromonal influence has clearly compromised me, and objectivity. My objectivity remains intact. Ambassador Queen Zarina interrupted coldly, as does the evidence. Against you, security forces move toward the sentient delegation, as Oliver delivered his final point. Humanity doesn't seek to disrupt, but to enhance the galactic community. Yesterday demonstrated what cooperation between species can accomplish. Our unique evolutionary path doesn't threaten stability. It offers new potential for connection across differences. Seleth stepped forward, standing shoulder to shoulder with him. In symbolic unity, as commander of the Royal Guard, I formally attest that human biochemistry represents an evolutionary advantage that benefits alliance building, not manipulation, as falsely claimed. The council voted, while Dravkor was escorted away. The outcome was decisive. Earth would join the Galactic Council, and humanity's unique evolutionary gifts would be welcomed rather than feared. 6 months later, the temple gardens of Mir Prime bloomed with ceremonial flowers as dignitaries gathered for an unprecedented occasion, the formal alliance between Earth and the Mirren Kingdom. With Oliver now serving as permanent ambassador, nervous Seleth asked, adjusting his formal attire. Her blue hair had grown longer, interwoven now with ceremonial silver threads denoting her new role as head of diplomatic security. About the treaty, no. Oliver smiled, capturing her hand. About being the first human to formally bond with a mean royal guard commander. Absolutely. The evolution of their relationship had become a symbol of the very connection humanity offered the galaxy, the ability to bridge differences and form bonds across species barriers. Queen Irina approached, royal robes shimmering in the sunlight. Ambassador Reeves, Commander Seleth, the delegates are assembled. The ceremony combined Earth and mean traditions, establishing not just political alliance but cultural exchange. Representatives from 12 council worlds attended the beginning of a new galactic order where humanity's evolutionary gifts were seen as strength rather than threat. Who would have thought human pheromones would reshape galactic politics? Oliver mused as they completed the ceremonial binding of hands. Kath's ears twitched in amusement. I knew you were trouble the moment you arrived. Evolutionary disruptor, I believe, was the term. Some disruptions, she said, leaning in for the kiss that would seal their bond, are exactly what the galaxy needs. As applause erupted around them, Oliver reflected on humanity's journey from isolation to integration. Their species' unique evolutionary path, once feared, had become their greatest contribution to galactic society, the ability to form connections across vast differences, building bridges where borders once stood. What began with pheromones had evolved into something far more powerful, proof that humanity's place among the stars had always been inevitable. A full year had passed since the Council's decisive vote and the treaty that united Earth with the mean kingdom. The harsh memories of that dramatic night and the political tensions were slowly giving way to the warm light of hope and progress. In the quiet hours before sunrise, the diplomatic compound on Mir Prime felt different now, a place no longer of isolation or containment, but of quiet promise. Inside his new quarters, Ambassador Oliver Reeves sat by a wide window outside the twin moons of Mir Prime slowly brightened the sky with gentle silver light. His thoughts wandered back to the challenges he had faced the chaos of the failed assassination and the emotional journey that had pulled him and Commander Selith. Together, now peace had settled over the compound, and Oliver found a moment to reflect. A soft knock on the door startled him. "Yes," he called when the door opened. Selith stepped in quietly. Her measured strides were as confident as ever, yet there was a softness in her expression that Oliver had come to know well. The blue in her eyes was clear in the dim light, and the silver threads woven in her hair caught the gentle glow of the morning. "Good morning, Ambassador," she greeted warmly. "I hope I'm not interrupting." Oliver shook his head with a small smile. "Not at all, Commander. I was just thinking about how much has changed in such a short time." They sat down across from one another at a low table beside the window. Outside, the city of Mir Prime was coming alive with activity, and the compound's gardens blooming with twilight flowers offered a promise of renewal. "I still remember the chaos of that day," Oliver said softly, "but I also recall the moment when you stood by me in that storm. It was then I knew we could rise above our past differences." Seth's gaze was steady. "I have spent many sleepless nights thinking of my duty in my heart. At first I was torn between what the law demanded and the feelings that grew inside me. Over time, I learned that protecting the people, and even an ambassador, is not just about following orders, but also about trusting in the bonds we form." A quiet pause fell between them as they both reflected on that dangerous night. "Do you think the treaty will hold?" Oliver asked. "Our species still seemed to struggle with the concept of change." Kath leaned forward, her voice confident yet gentle. "I believe so, Oliver. The treaty is built on mutual respect, and understanding it is proof that our differences, even those created by our unique biochemistry, can be a source of strength rather than fear. The Mirans and Earthlings both have much to learn from one another. With every challenge, we build new bridges." In the weeks that followed, the diplomatic compound had become a busy meeting place, not only for government representatives, but also for scientists, cultural liaison, and even ordinary citizens who were eager to see the promise of the future. A formal council session was scheduled to discuss joint projects aimed at uniting research on Earth and Mir Prime. The projects would focus on fields as diverse as medicine, agriculture, and renewable energy. One cool morning, the compound's grand meeting hall was filled with representatives from both worlds. Sunlight streamed through high transparent windows, casting long beams over the assembled groups. Oliver stood near the head of the room and greeted the new arrivals. His voice, steady and warm, filled the space as he addressed them. "Welcome, everyone. Today, we stand together at the edge of a new dawn. Our differences are our greatest resources. Let us work together to create solutions that benefit us all." Among the crowd, Selith watched with quiet pride. Her role as both protector and liaison had grown since the events of the past year. Although she carried the weight of past conflicts, she now looked toward the future with determination. After the meeting, as the delegates mingled in the corridor, Oliver and Selith stepped aside for a quiet conversation. A young Mir scientist, Marek, approached them. "Ambassador Reeves, Commander Selith," he said respectfully, "your work has inspired many of us. I have been following our joint solar project closely. I believe it can solve our energy problems and strengthen our cultural ties. Further, may I have a moment of your time?" "Of course," Oliver replied. "Your enthusiasm is exactly what we need to move forward. Tell us more about your ideas." Marek explained his proposals with clear language and earnest gestures. Kath listened intently, occasionally interjecting with thoughtful questions. When he finished, the room was filled with quiet optimism, and both Oliver and Selith nodded in agreement. Later that celebration was held in the temple gardens. Lanterns made of bioluminescent crystals and woven vines illuminated the paths. Soft music played, and the fragrance of night-blooming flowers filled the air. Oliver and Selith walked along one of the garden pathways, speaking in gentle voices that mixed recollection with plans for the future. "You know," Oliver said, "all the troubles we went through seem so far away now. Sometimes I still wonder what would have happened if we had not managed to reach a moment of understanding." Selith smiled softly, her hand resting on his chain. "Often begins with conflict, but it ends with connection. We have seen fear give way to hope, and suspicion turn to cooperation. I think that is a Lesson for all of us. Their conversation was interrupted by the laughter of a group of young means and earthlings. Gathered nearby among them was a small child, who peered up at Oliver with wide, curious eyes. Ambassador Reeves, will you tell us a story about Earth? The child asked. Oliver exchanged a quick glance. With Seleth, who nodded encouragingly. I'd be happy to, he said. Settling on a stone bench, Oliver began speaking in a simple, captivating tone. In a land far away where the forests were vast and the rivers ran deep, there was a place where people dreamed of flying to the stars. His voice carried the charm of old fables, drawing in the child and several others who gathered around Seleth, sat nearby her, attentive smile reflecting the hope that had blossomed among the people. Later that night, after the small celebration ended, Oliver returned to his quarters to find an unexpected visitor. A soft knock came at his door, and when he opened it, he saw Queen Zarina standing in the corridor, her royal attire relaxed. For the quiet of night, Ambassador Reeves, she said with gentle authority, I wish to speak with you alone. They walked slowly down a lit corridor lined with delicate sculptures. In a private lounge, the Queen sat, her gaze thoughtful. Your presence and indeed your spirit have changed the way we see not only Earth but ourselves, she said quietly. Your people bring with them a strange yet wondrous energy, a reminder that change, no matter how disruptive, can breathe life into the old ways. Oliver bowed his head respectfully. Your Majesty, I am honored to serve. I believe the strength of any alliance lies in its diversity. Our differences will always be our challenge, but also the key to our future success. Queen Zarina smiled warmly. I am pleased you say that. Know that the mayor and kingdom will continue to support Earth's journey toward a brighter future, but I also ask you, Ambassador Reeves, to act as a bridge between not just our governments, but our hearts. Back at the compound, news began to filter in about the departure of Ambassador Draver. Rumors swirled in the corridors that he had been forced to leave after his plans had been exposed, and his reputation tarnished. The sentient delegation was in disarray, and the council was rethinking its strict policies on newcomers. Many voices now called for a more open and curious approach. One afternoon, Seleth and Oliver attended a small panel discussion with other diplomats. The topic was change and trust in a multi-species galaxy. As the discussion opened, one of the panelists, a dignitary from the Zarich system, asked pointedly, how can we trust a species that alters our natural state with a mere presence? Oliver's response was calm and measured. It is not the presence itself, but our willingness to understand and grow from it. Humanity has learned that our differences can spark progress. We must silent before a gentle murmur of agreement filled the space. Seleth then added, as a guardian, I have seen fear and attraction both twist and shape our instincts, but I have also seen what happens when we choose cooperation over conflict. Today, that cooperative spirit is the heartbeat of our new future. Her words resonated deeply with the delegates. Many nodded, and even those who had once held fast to old traditions began to question their fears. It was a small step, yet one that signified the slow but steady breaking down of long-held barriers. Days turned into weeks, and the healing process continued in the compound through joint work and shared celebrations. Both Earth and Mirren cultural festivals were held side by side, symbolizing the merging of old and new worlds. Oliver took part in traditional Mirren dances, laughing as he tried to imitate the fluid movements his guards performed. Seleth, watching him, said, you make a good dancer, Ambassador, though you might need a bit more practice. Oliver grinned back. Practice makes perfect. Perhaps you could teach me a few steps. Tomorrow, perhaps, she replied softly, her eyes twinkling with humor. But remember, every step you take is a step toward understanding our people, and I am here to help you. That night, as they sat together on a small balcony overlooking a garden illuminated by softly glowing orbs, their thoughts turned to the future. I once worried that the reaction to my natural self would lead to endless conflict, Oliver confessed, but you have shown me that even the most unusual differences can pave the way for connection. Seleth took his hand. I, too, was conflicted. I fought against my own nature to protect my duty, but I learned that sometimes embracing who you are while still upholding your responsibilities is the greatest strength their conversation lingered as the stars emerged one by one in the dark. Sky above Mir Prime, in the silence between their words, they both understood the lesson that the galaxy had taught them change is inevitable, and with trust and open hearts even the most unlikely bonds can become unbreakable. In the weeks and months that followed, the compound turned into a hub of peaceful progress. Joint projects began to bear fruit, and the once dubious sentient delegation grew quieter in their discontent as they watched the merging cultures thrive. The mean people celebrated not just the treaty, but the spirit of their new allies, the humans who brought not just words, but actions that spoke of compassion, resilience, and genuine hope. Ambassador Oliver Reeves and Commander Seleth's relationship continued to grow, a living symbol of unity between two very different worlds. They spoke often of the future, not in terms of isolated victories or past conflicts, but in the shared dreams of a galaxy where connection and trust could overcome even the deepest divisions. As Oliver often reminded the young diplomats and curious children alike, it is our willingness to open our hearts that makes us strong. Every difference is a chance to learn, every conflict a chance to grow, and so as the gentle light of Mir Prime's twin moons gave way to the bright dawn of another day, the legacy of humanity's first journey into galactic diplomacy shone through, a reminder that the smallest changes in understanding can lead